Welcome to this lesson on finding the surface area of rectangular prisms. Please make sure you have these notes in front of you so we can begin our lesson. The learning objective for today says I can find the surface area of rectangular prisms. So let's go ahead and talk about some of our vocabulary. Our first vocabulary word is called surface area. And surface area means the area needed to cover a three-dimensional figure. So if we look at this little image right here, this is a three-dimensional figure. We can unwrap the three-dimensional figure to get this figure right here. So this is called a net. And a net basically means it's the unraveled sides of a three-dimensional figure. So just imagine that you're taking the box apart and you're unfolding it. This is what you would get. They call it a net. So notice by unwrapping it, I have a top, a bottom, a front, a back, and two sides. So we can use the net to help us figure out what a surface area is. Basically, the surface area is adding up all the areas of all the sides of the prism. So to find the surface area of a rectangular prism, what you want to do is you want to find the area of the front and then multiply it by 2 because the back is the same area as the front. And then find the area of one side and then multiply it by 2 because the other side has the same area. And then find the area of the top and then multiply it by 2 because the bottom has the same area as the top. Add those areas up together and you would get your surface area. Another way to get this is using this formula. Surface area is equal to 2 times the length and the width plus 2 times the length and the height plus 2 times the width times the height. So we can use that formula to figure out the surface area, or you can use nets. Either way, or either method can help you get the correct answer. For example, when it says find the surface area of the rectangular prism. So notice they give us a net of a rectangular prism. Imagine that we have a rectangular prism that is unfolded, and this is what it would look like as a flat image. So let's go ahead and find the area of all the sides of this rectangular prism, which would be the surface area. So let's take a look at the blue rectangles first. I've got 7 meters by 6 meters. If I plug that into length times width, 7 times 6 would become 42 meters squared. Now let's take a look at the other blue. This would be 7 meters high, and this would be 6 meters long. So the same thing would be 7 times 6, which was 42 meters squared. Notice the area of the two blue regions are the same. Let's find the area of the green region now. Our length would be 8, and our width would be 6. So 8 times 6 would become 48 meters squared. Now let's figure out the other green. This width would be 6 meters, and the length would be 8 meters. So 6 times 8 would be 48 meters squared. Notice the two green regions are both the same. Now let's find the area for the gold region. I know that the gold region has a length of 8, and the height will be 7 meters. So 8 times 7 would be 56 meters squared. So if that is 56 meters squared, then the other gold region would have to be 56 meters squared as well. So now that I've found the area of all these sides to my rectangular prism, what I can do is I can go ahead and add them all. So the blue rectangle has an area of 42, plus the other blue rectangle has an area of 42, plus the green rectangle has an area of 48, and the other green rectangle has an area of 48, and the gold rectangle has one area of 56, and the other one is also 56. So let's go ahead and add these up. 42 plus 42 would become 84. 48 plus 48 would become 96. And 56 plus 56 would become 112. Now let's go ahead and add these up now. 84 plus 96 would be 180. Now let's add that to 112. And our surface area would be 292 meters to the second power. So that's how much wrapping paper we would need to wrap this box. So that's one way of doing this problem. Another way that we can solve this problem is by using a formula. So I'm going to use the formula surface area is equal to 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height. So let's look at the information that we have given this net. I have my length, which we can call the length to be 8 meters. And the width, we can call the width to be 6 meters. And the height, we can call the height to be 7 meters. So given this information, let's plug this stuff into the formula. So let's go 2 times our length times our width, which is 6, plus 2 times our length, which is 8, times our height, which is 7, plus 2 times the width, which is 6, times our height, which is 7. So now let's go ahead and simplify. 2 times 8 times 6 is equal to 96, plus 2 times 8 times 7 is equal to 112, plus 2 times 6 times 7, which is equal to 40 or 84. Now if you add it all up, you would still get 292 meters to the second power. So that's just another way of solving it. So pause the video and complete this guided problem, and we'll discuss the answer in class tomorrow. For example 2, it says find the surface area of the rectangular prism. So they've given us an image of the rectangular prism, and they've also unfolded it and given me a net for it. So I can see all the sides, I can see the top and the bottom and the front and the back. So what we need to do is find the area of all the sides and add them up to get our surface area. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to look at the front and the back first. So here's the front and here's the back. One way that I could do this is I can count all the little squares in the front and count all the little squares in the back. And that's going to give me the area for the front and the back. That's why you would multiply it by 2. So I'm going to take 2, because there's a front and a back, and I'm going to multiply it by the length, because the front has a length, and the height, and the front has a height. So I'm going to say 2 times our length, which is 7, times our height, which is 4. So when I multiply 7 times 4, I get 28, but since there's a top and a bottom, or a front and a back, I'm going to say there's going to be 56. That's why I'm multiplying it by 2. So 56 feet squared. Alright, let's go ahead and do the top and the bottom now. I'm going to say, here's the top, here's the bottom. I could sit there and count all the squares. I'm just going to use this formula. Since there's a top and a bottom, there's 2 of them. I'm going to multiply it by the length and the width. So I'm going to say 2 times the length would be 5, and the width would be 7. So 2 times 5 times 7 is equal to 70 feet squared. Now let's go ahead and do the left and the right. So here's the left side, here's the right side. I could sit there and count all the squares, but I'm going to use this formula since there's 2 sides that are both the same. I'm going to take 2 multiplied by the height and the width. So let's say 2, the height would be 4, and the width would be 5. So if I multiply that out, I would get 40 feet squared. So to find the surface area, what we can do is we can go ahead and add them all up. So 56 feet squared plus 70 feet squared plus 40 feet squared would equal to 166 feet squared. So one way that you can think about this is if you count every single square in this net, you would get 166 squares. That is how much wrapping paper I would need to cover this box. Example 3 says find the surface area of the rectangular prism. So notice they've given us the rectangular prism right here, but they did not give us the net. They did not unwrap the box, which is fine, because what we can do is we can use the surface area formula that we've given you before. So let's go ahead and find the area of the front and the back. So to find the area of the front and the back, I'm going to take 2, times it by the length, and times it by the height. So this would equal to 2 times 7 times 6. And when I multiply that out, I get 84 centimeters squared. So that's the area of the front and the back. Now let's find the area for the top and the bottom. I'm going to take 2 and multiply it by the length and the width. So I'm going to say 2 times the length, which is 7, and the width, which is 4 8/10. So if I multiply that out, I would get 67 2/10 centimeters squared. Alright, now let's find the area for the two sides. So I'm going to take 2 times the height times the width, 2 times the height, which is equal to 6, and the width, which is equal to 4.8. When I multiply those out, I get 57 6/10 centimeters squared. So now that I found the area of all the sides, let's go ahead and add them up. So let's take 84 centimeters squared plus 67 2/10 centimeters squared plus 57 6/10 centimeters squared to add them up. And make sure when you add these up, you line them up and you stack the decimals on top of each other. So after adding them up, I should get 208 8/10 centimeters squared. And that would be the surface area all around of my rectangular prism. So pause the video, complete the guided problem, and we'll discuss this answer in class tomorrow. So now that you've finished this lesson, go ahead and self-rate yourself and let us know how you feel. If there's any part of this lesson that you do not understand, please go back and watch it again. Also come to class with some questions so we can discuss it in further detail.